What's up, everyone? Back at it again with another stream here. A little playoff preview for you guys today. I know we haven't done a stream in a while here. Super busy. Got to keep in mind, I am a college student still, so I do have a busy life at times. But we have Dylan ThunderChats over of the Topic Thunder podcast here on once again for us here at Thunder Digest. He's been on before. It was a blast. Had a great time talking with him. Figured why not bring him back for another one. Dylan, go ahead and say what's up and everything. I'm sure everyone knows you by now, who you are. You know, you're a big name in the, kind of media source here for the Thunder. But if anyone doesn't know who you are for some reason, just give them a quick little introduction.
Yeah, what's up, guys? You know, it's your boy Dylan at ThunderChats. As Bryson mentioned, I do the Top Thunder podcast. I've been on Twitter, like Thunder Twitter, I guess, for like the last, like 6-7 years now. And I had a huge growth moment, and I've kind of plateaued at that point. I would say I'm more of like a old head in terms of like some of the bigger Thunder accounts at this point. But it's still a good time. I've met a lot of people through Twitter. I met my podcast friends through Twitter. And I love talking Thunder basketball. So, thank you for the opportunity to, bring an old head onto your pod.
It's all good. I don't want to call you old. I turned 22 the other day, and then people started calling me young. I was like, I didn't think I was that old yet. But basis of this playoff preview, you guys can kind of get that from the title here. Just kind of looking at the path Oklahoma City has to go through would be the easiest path. Teams we kind of want to try to avoid. I know with some matchups like that Lakers Timberwolves matchup. Timberwolves are hot right now. They've been getting hot. Could be a little bit tough for the Lakers there, but kind of going based off of, okay, who we see in round 2 and then round 3 of the conference finals. Who do we want to kind of avoid? Who we want to see for the easiest path? And then, along with like playoff sleepers that we have on both sides of the bracket. Also, if you guys want, we can answer your questions. If you guys have questions regarding the playoffs and guys that we think are expected to pop off or something, I'm sure I'm happy to answer. I'm sure, Dylan's happy to answer as well. But just getting into this, I want to know, all right, first off, who's going to get this 8 seed? Is it going to be Dallas, Sacramento, or now is it going to be Golden State? I'm curious who you think's going to get it. Or no, not Golden State. They got the 7. Sorry, my bad. I thought they lost for some reason. The Grizzlies. Yeah.
I mean, hey, it could be argued they should have lost. There was a lot of calls.
I won't speak on that. I won't.
I mean, hey, that was a wild game. Like that's a good selling point for the play-in tournament. We was plotting last night, and my co-host Matt Tierney, he was actually talking about like how much he hates the play-in and like he wished they would just eliminate it. And I was like, I don't know, man. I enjoy it. Like it feels like every year there's at least one good game that makes it worth it. And then we were recording live and this was happening, so it was a vindication. But to answer your question about like who we think is going to be the 8 seed, my answer hasn't really changed since really like the last week of the season. I think it's going to be the Memphis Grizzlies. And I honestly think that's the most fun answer as well, because the Grizzlies are a good basketball team. Like I think that the Warriors are, the superior team in terms of like they've been there before. They have more like primetime players or playoff risers, like guys like Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, of course, and even Draymond Green. He rises his performance when it comes to the playoffs. So like, it wasn't a surprise that they beat them. I picked them to win that game. But in terms of like good basketball team, this is a team that, before like this back stretch of the season when they suffered some injuries to their role guys and, they fired their head coach, it was kind of like a season from hell at like the very end of it all. But they're still a really good basketball team. This is a team that's competing for the 2-3 seed for much of the year. And Ja Morant hadn't been himself for most of the year. And congruently, he's looking more like the Ja of old here recently than he was early.
He's looking a lot better. He had a little rough stretch, I feel like, this year.
Mm-hmm.
I think, to me, it seemed like injuries were really getting him. But he has looked so much better. And I kind of see that, too, them being the 8th seed.
Yeah, and I mean, we still don't know. He aggravated his ankle last night. He's able to come back in. He made some plays, but you got the adrenaline. They can tape it up real tight, real fast. But the question is, what's it look like whenever you take that tape off? Like, what happens after you have, you sleep on it and then you wake up? Like, what's it look like then? So 100%. It'll be interesting to see. Like, yeah, I think Ja's definitely going to give it a go. But Bane was phenomenal in that game. So, Bane and Ja Morant, like they're a dynamic duo in the backcourt, and then Jaren Jackson Jr., who, he's going to make an all-defensive team at one point.
He might be an all-NBA player as well.
Yeah, this is true. Yeah, he's looking like he could probably make the third-team All-NBA. Like, he's had a great season, in terms of, like, the guys that had been injured and missed a lot of time between Bane and Ja. Like, Jaren had kind of been, like, the one constant for the team and had kind of helped them, kind of float above the Western Conference, like in that 2-3 seed for for the time that they did. So they've got a nice like trio, but after that, the role players get a little bit shaky. Of course, you got Cone's favorite players, Shaquille O'Neal. I just think that we would legitimately play him off the floor. Like, he probably should have went off. So. If they had another option, I think they would have took him off the floor last night, because what the Warriors were like doing to him. If you look at his stats, like, they look fine, but like if you're watching the game, it's like this guy just doesn't belong right now. It's too early. Like, it's not his moment right now. And I think that the Thunder could absolutely exploit that. So I think it's a fun team. I think it's a good team. Thunder and 4. That's all I gotta say.
That's all I gotta say. I agree. I think it will be the Grizzlies. Just looking at how they've been playing as of late, how they played against the Warriors there. And the fact that it's going to be the Kings and Mavericks, that's going to be one of the two teams that they play. Yeah. I think that they're just the better team overall. Kings, like, I don't see it with them. They made that push to go all in this tough Western Conference, even against a team like the Warriors, who in the East could have easily been a 4 seed over there. One of those things I look at, it's just like the Kings, I don't necessarily think they have the like raw talent compared to a Warriors, because you have to deal with Steph Curry, who is the greatest shooter of all time and is still playing lights out to this day as a shooter, and then playoff Jimmy Butler. That is a real thing. Or I don't know why I keep on thinking the Grizzlies won, because they definitely should have won that game.
Yeah.
I was going off that tangent because I keep on thinking, I go back and I was like, I look at some of the plays that happened, I'm like, they kind of got screwed there a little bit. So I keep on thinking it should have been the Warriors there, but Grizzlies, I stand corrected there. With the Grizzlies, John Morant, Jaren Jackson Jr., Desmond Bane, who is one of the better third options in the NBA, in my opinion. Zach Edey, who hasn't really been getting a lot of attention, but I feel like with what he's done for the Grizzlies, he's one of the better rookies from this season. Mm-hmm. And so he gets thrown under the radar quite a bit. And just comparing that to like the Kings, who I just don't think have the raw talent over there. Like, cool, you got DeMar DeRozan. Like, that would have been great 5 years ago. All right, Domantas Sabonis, who is an all-NBA caliber player, but the NBA keeps sleeping on him for some reason. Like cool, you got all those guys over here. Zach LaVine, who is the definition of mid, in my opinion. Just like, there's just a bunch going on where it's like 5 years ago, yeah, I would have been scared of this team. Now, though, it's like, I just don't see it. And then the Mavericks, would I love to get my get back on the Mavericks? Yes. Yeah. I would love that get back in the first round. All right. Having, PJ Washington having to be the scoring option for that team, where Dort can just clamp him the entire game and truly put him in the torture chamber. I would love that. Do I think they're going to win even tonight? I don't know. I think it's going to be a dogfight where no matter what team, it'll be a dogfight tonight, and then they have to go and take on the Grizzlies. They're going to get beat by double-digit points. It doesn't really matter. I think it's going to be the Grizzlies no matter what. I would just prefer it to be one of the other two teams because I want to sweep the Mavericks just to get, get the ghosts from the past out of here. And then the Kings would just be such an easy first round matchup for us, I feel like. So that's, what I personally think there. But going off of that, just going off that now, like second round, we can all assume we're going to make the second round. All right. I think we match up extremely well with every other team. Going to make the second round here. Mm-hmm. In that second round matchup is going to be Nuggets, Clippers, two really good teams, we've had the Clippers number all season. It was a single-digit win last time we faced them when they finally had Kawhi back. All right. Nuggets, we split with them this year, which I think we still should have went 3-1 against them, in my opinion. But does my opinion really matter? Not all that much in the grand scheme of things. I'm curious, out of those two teams, second-round matchup, who would you rather face there? All right. Would you rather face like Jokic, who is making a case for MVP as well, against Shai, who is always going to go out there and have a good game and elevate his teammates a little bit? Or do you want to face this Clippers team who has a bunch of old heads on there that have been making a name for themselves this season, even though they had everything against them starting off?
I will preface this by saying, and my co-host Alex kind of called me out on it yesterday, like, bro, you're too confident in this team. I'm not really worried about anybody in the West, just like off the top. But like, if you're asking me, who I would prefer to play, honestly, I think it's the Nuggets, man, because I think the Clippers kind of give me Dallas Mavericks of last year's vibe in terms of like just taking off after the All-Star break. Kawhi is like he's turned back the clock. He looks phenomenal. You got James Harden turning back the clock. He looks phenomenal. Vika Zubac and Norm Powell both have emerged as like difference makers on this team. Like Zoo is like probably going to make an all-defensive team. I've seen some people to say that he deserves to make an all-NBA team.
I wouldn't go that far.
Yeah, I've seen like most improved player. I've seen a couple people had him for defensive player of the year. Like it's nuts. Like that core four has been really good. Derrick Jones Jr. We've seen what he can do. Like he's a really good role player. And then they've got some weird pieces off the bench. They got Bogdanovic. He can give you some buckets. They got Ben Simmons. Who knows what you're going to get out of him. And they got Chris Dunn, who is I was looking at EPM earlier because I had a tweet about Alex Caruso, who leads the league in defensive EPM, by the way. Chris Dunn was like 4th in the league in terms of defensive EPM, which kind of blew my mind a little bit. So the Clippers are a tough team, and like they're well coached. By my money, I think that they have one of the best coaches in the league in terms of like in-game adjustments, X's and O's. Ty Lue is that guy for that. Yeah. So it's not more of me. It's not more of me like disrespecting the Nuggets. It's just I respect the Clippers at this point more because the Nuggets, they're a good team. As you said, we should be 3-1 against them. One of those games, I think Dub got hurt 13 minutes into it, and they just want to forget that even happened.
It's the same with Warriors fans. So, bringing up like, oh, we won all these games against you. Win both of them. Like we had injuries going on. Like Chet got injured 5 minutes into one of those Warriors games. Another one, I don't think we had Hartenstein either. So just immediately you look at it and it's just we were injured. You've never really faced us fully healthy. And I like you brought up you have so much confidence in this team, everyone telling you that. And it's because no one has faced a fully healthy Thunder squad when you look at it. No one really has.
No, and like it's like we've had stretches of the season where we've been healthy, but it seems like those stretches have been at the back half of the season where the one seed is locked up and we haven't been playing our best basketball. We haven't been trying to put foots on necks. And that was the point I made on the pod. And that's what I was going to say here is like, it's been so long since people seen us play our best basketball. And we still haven't seen the best basketball with this team fully healthy. But like when we was running through the Knicks, when we was beating the Celtics, like when we bounced back and beat the Cavs without a single big man by like 30 points on our home court, like that was back in January. People have already forgotten how good this team was, and because we lost to the Rockets, we lost to the Lakers. We let the Wolves come back on us. We had some like outlier games happen, and those are just going to happen in like an 82 game season. There's going to be 8 to 10 times that you're not going to miss a shot, and there's going to be 8 to 10 times that your opponents aren't going to miss a shot. And that was kind of the case in those games. But in terms of like when this team is locked in and they're fully healthy, I think they go toe to toe with anybody in the league, and especially in the West. But in terms of like the Nuggets, like Jokic is obviously a problem, but I think that we are one of the better teams suited to defend Jokic.
I think Hartenstein does a great job guarding Jokic.
Hartenstein does good, and Chet, even last year, like in their matchups, Chet was doing really good on Jokic.
I remember the first game of the year when they took on the Nuggets. Chet was doing amazing guarding Jokic starting off.
You're never going to take Jokic completely out of the game. Like, what happened with those Lakers games, like in the small ball, like that was an outlier. Like that's not something that you can rely on. But Chet and have done a good job of keeping him contained and also conversely being hard to guard on the other end for Jokic, like making it a problem for him on defense. I think that the Nuggets have, they have 4 of the 5 starters that they won the championship with. Christian Brown's looked good. Russell Westbrook, we love the Brody. Other than that, like their depth is very shaky. They
don't really
just
have
fired
any.
their head coach 3 games before the season. They've got a dude that seems like he's just a yes man. He literally said, if Jokic wants to coach the team, I'll let him. So I just don't think that this is going to like end well for the Nuggets. And honestly, like you're not asking me this, but like I would rather play the Nuggets because I think the Clippers are the better team and they're scarier matchup at this point for us. But I have the Clippers winning in 6.
I have the Clippers winning in 5. I just don't think
I love that.
I don't think the Nuggets have a chance. Just looking at it, I don't think that team's really built for the postseason. Jamal Murray has been horrible this entire season. I know people say he's completely different when it comes to the postseason and everything. Like some players just rise above in the postseason. I've only really seen Jamal Murray play like that against the Lakers. It's the only time I've seen Jamal Murray rise in the playoffs. Nikola Jokic, like you mentioned, he's going to do his thing. He's going to be great. You can't take him completely out of the game. One of my keys, though, to stopping Jokic that I wrote about at the start of the season for the first matchup of the year was you're not going to stop him. You just have to stop one aspect of his game, whether that's his passing ability or his scoring ability. All right. You have to figure out which one you're going to stop. Are you going to stop him from making all these amazing reads for people cutting, for people out open on the perimeter? Or are you going to stop and shut down his scoring and limit him to 10 points this game? You have to pick one of those things. And every single time the Thunder have played him besides one game, they've done exactly that. And what happened? They win. Now, one game, Dub got hurt. And Jokic still didn't have a great night that night. I think he only had I don't think he scored 20 points that night. He didn't have like a normal Jokic game. He definitely played a little bit below par. But like we mentioned, like Dub got hurt that game. So that's the main reason why OKC lost. They would have won if he stayed healthy because of how they were shutting him down right there. And you lost who people are considering second or third best defender on this Thunder team, especially when it comes to the starting lineup and Jalen Williams. So it's just one of those things where I don't think that team's really built for the postseason. When I look at who they have, love Westbrook to death. All right. Greatest Thunder player of all time, in my humble opinion. And that's mainly because of stuff he's done for the city and continuing to do for the city. In fact, when you think of the Thunder, you don't think of a Kevin Durant. You don't think of Paul George when he almost won MVP. You might think Shai a little bit right now. Majority of people are going to think Russell Westbrook. And that's one of the reasons he'll get a statue in the future. But right now, coming off the bench and everything, that's how deep they can go off the bench. And even then, he's regressed in recent years. The team's just not built for the postseason. They don't have enough depth, and their starting lineup can't really get it done. What can Michael Porter Jr. do besides shoot a 3-ball and never pass?
Yeah,
not much of anything. And so that's why I think the Clippers have it in 5. Do I like that matchup against Clippers? I like every matchup against every team. Even the Rockets, I think we can handle quite well as the 2 seed there. Even the Lakers, even though they took that one game against us and kind of manhandled the team, I still think the Thunder can handle them because we were just trying out. Can the double big work against a small ball lineup in Los Angeles? It wasn't really working. So I am fine going small ball and having Hartenstein come off the bench against the Lakers there. And I think we beat them in 5 or 6 games. But I have the Clippers beating the Nuggets in 5 and taking on the Thunder. And I think they can take a game or 2 against us. I think they can just because, they have the veteran experience. Zubac, like you mentioned, has been playing great. He's, people are saying he should be on all defensive teams. Some people say he should be on all NBA team. I think that's blasphemous right there. But I did check the list. I know, Steve, Steve Dolan, he has been following that a ton as well. And so have I. Zubac leads the race in most improved right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it wouldn't surprise me if they give it to him because that's how good he's been this year. Without him, are the Clippers, are they just a play-in team? Possibly. And we would be talking about what we're going to do if they're a lottery pick this year.
Yeah. And we talked about on the pod last night, like what the Clippers have done relative to their expectations going into the season has just been nuts because like I was listening back to our podcast, like in the preseason because, I'm like tallying up the predictions to see who got the most right for like the end of the season. And all of us, man, like we had them like 13 seed, 14 seed, 12 seed. It's like, is there a shot that we'll win the championship and then get Cooper Flag, like get the number 1 pick and draft?
There was a real shot at one time.
And like to their credit, man, like Harden never went in fat suit mode. Kawhi came back, was a monster. Zubac obviously he's thriving in his role. Norm Powell emerged. Norm Powell was in all-star conversations. Like he was a legit.
No
like,
one would have. No one predicted that. No one. Not even Clippers fans had predicted him to be an all-star level player.
Mm-hmm.
All right. No one predicted Kawhi to come back and be a top-tier player in the NBA after a major injury. No one predicted Zubac to be a like top 10 center. Now people are arguing like he should be, in that top 5 conversation at 5 or 4. That's how good that team has just, rose to like beat the expectations for him. I even mentioned it as like I agreed. I thought there was a chance the Thunder could make the finals, potentially win it all, and then get a top tier lottery pick and have a chance at Cooper Flag. And there was still talks about that later on when they were still a play-in team and like, oh, if they don't make the playoffs here, now you have potentially 2 lottery picks in the Sixers and Clippers right here. Do you try to package that with other picks and trade up in this year's draft? Now that's no longer a thought because we're going to get the 20th or 21st overall pick from them.
Yep.
And so it almost became a discussion. Do you take the Clippers or Rockets pick? Like, which one are you going to take? It became a real discussion for a little bit there. So they rose to expectations. They have veterans that are used to the playoffs. Kawhi Leonard, who's won a championship. James Harden hasn't won one. He's trying to chase that as well. And you have guys that have risen to expectations this year. Do they have the depth to kind of make a run? I don't think so. Ben Simmons being one of your key bench players.
Yeah,
I don't think that's a recipe for success. I saw a report today that came out that's been saying they've been using Ben Simmons as Nikola Jokic. Yeah.
We have a better scout team Jokic. All right.
Jay Will. I love how we all are using him now to prove that getting triple doubles as a center isn't hard. Like we have Nikola Jokic at home at this point.
Yeah.
And so I do have an interesting thing in here. One of our regulars here, Wolfbane, said if Thunder stay healthy, they'll go undefeated in the playoffs. I think that's a little crazy.
That'd be amazing.
That'd be amazing. I think that one's a little crazy. They're gonna drop. They'll drop one in the semis, no matter who they play, whether it's Nuggets or Clippers, just because you're gonna get tired and it's hard to win so many games in a row. And then they'll drop 1 or 2 in the conference finals, depending who they play. If they play the Rockets, I think they only drop 1. If they play Lakers, Timberwolves, Warriors, any of those kinds of teams, I think they drop 2 against them, goes to 6 games. And then in the East, it truly depends who they play. Boston, and we can go ahead and get into like our, picks in the other conference right now in the Eastern Conference, who we think's making it there. If Boston makes it, I think we only drop 1 against them. We saw how we played.
Really?
Well, my thing is, yes, they've been to the postseason. They won it last year. I get it. In regular season, it doesn't convey to the postseason all the time. What we did in Paycom Center without a healthy squad, missing 2 guys that night that are, usual members of that rotation, they had a fully healthy team. Dort shut down Brown in that second half of play there. Yeah. Shai went off. Jalen Williams had a great game. Isaiah Hartenstein played a key role there as well. I already mentioned Lou Dort's defensive, awareness there. Cason Wallace. Like all these guys rose up and stopped a fully healthy Boston Celtics team. No one else can really do that if they're missing players. Yeah, the Cavs might be able to do it for a game or 2. Maybe the Lakers for 1 game. Maybe. But the fact the Thunder beat them, and it was close there, but they really ran away with it towards the end, shows how good this team actually is. And people, like you mentioned earlier, people forgot what the Thunder did this regular season earlier on, back in January and December. They took on the Celtics again in March. And Thunder weren't healthy, but the Celtics weren't healthy either. Thunder beat them by double digits, if I remember correctly.
Chet Holmgren at the 5, baby.
Yeah, it's one of those things where people are like, oh my goodness, Boston has a legit chance to go back to back. They can. I just think the Thunder overall have a better team, and we saw this in the regular season with how well they handled Boston, even against a fully healthy Celtics squad.
Yeah, I mean, nobody's gonna be happier than me than if we win in 5. I have us going 6 or 7 between the Celtics or the Cavs, just because I do think they are a really good team. I think I lean 6 for the Cavs just because they're the defensive discrepancy on their team, but I think the Celtics are a more complete team. Obviously, they've just been here before. And they're loaded. They've had guys even step up that wasn't stepping up last year. Like what Peyton Pritchard's done this year for them has been huge in terms of having bench scoring. So I think I would have Celtics. I would Thunder in 7 over the Celtics and Thunder in 6 over the Cavs. But yeah, I was going to mention one more point about the Nuggets Clippers series.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think obviously, I said, I had the Clippers in 6. You said they have them in 5. I think it is a long series, and I think it's a physical series. And I think that either way, like we said, like we're sweeping our series, so we're going to have time to rest. Like they're going to be playing a long series. It's going to be physical. They're going to beat each other up, and they're going to come to OKC, who's playing like a spring chicken, and they're just going to be like dragging their feet into there and just get ran off the floor. So,
no, that's a great point. That is a great point. The fact that no matter who we play in the second round, because that series is going to go to 6 or 7 games. Yeah, it's going to go to one of those two. They're going to be tired. Players are going to be banged up. Might have to be playing through some minor injuries there. Like, speaking of injuries, Josh Giddey is playing through a torn hand muscle tonight because they're trying to reach the playoffs and everything. There are going to be other players doing that for both sides that may have sprained ankle. We're going to play through it. We're going to tape it up and make sure I can run on it. Players are going to be doing that. And I'm not saying it's not going to be the same for the Thunder, but they're going to have a full weeks of rest to, get over whatever injuries are going on compared to these teams. They might have 2 or 3 days.
Mm-hmm. It's gonna be fun. You was mentioning I guess the Western Conference Finals, right? Who do you prefer, I guess, in the Western Conference Finals?
Houston, okay.
I will say, like, if the Rockets made it to the Western Conference Finals, even if we sweep them, like, they should be thrilled with what they was able to do compared to last season, because
it's very reminiscent what the Thunder did last season.
That's more of like that. That's even like it's a bigger jump than what we did, because like they made it to the Western Conference Finals at that point, and they have I think I saw today in a mock, they have like the number 9 pick in this year's draft with the Suns.
They do.
So
they do.
That's crazy.
And so do I now that they're playing the Warriors in the first round, do they have a really tough path now? Extremely. Where it's one of those things where I mentioned sleepers earlier. Warriors can be one of those sleepers that somehow find themselves in the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah.
Like, I could see them upsetting round 1 very easily due to the lack of any experience on that squad. Your most experienced player is Fred VanVleet, and he's kind of disappeared.
Yeah. He had Kawhi.
Yeah, he had Kawhi. He wasn't even the best player. Like, was he even a number 2 option on that team? They had Pascal Siakam. Like, he was.
I will say he did have a good finals, because I was
he did have a good finals.
Should have been FA MVP.
He did have a good finals, but he's never really been a true scoring option. And him being your most experienced player, and then Dylan Brooks, who's been a veteran for a long time but hasn't ever made it far in the playoffs. Like, it's the same thing that the Thunder are going through right now, or that they went through last season. They didn't have enough experience to kind of go there, to rise to the big moments quite yet. It's going to be the same thing with the Houston Rockets, where the Warriors know how to do that. They know how to fight through adversity. They've been doing that. They came back down 3-1 against the Thunder, all right? They blew a 3-1 lead, so they know what to do to no longer do that as well. Mm-hmm. It's one of those things I look at, and it's like, okay, I could see the Warriors upsetting. I could.
Yeah.
They'll play physical. They'll get in, Alperen Sengun's mind, because he's not very, mentally tough. If anything happens, he kind of, gets a little bit crazy, starts arguing a little bit, goes on a tantrum, makes bad mistakes. Draymond Green would be the perfect matchup to guard him, where I think the Warriors just match up perfectly against the Rockets, where they can upset. But out of all the teams looking at it, Timberwolves, Lakers, Warriors, Rockets, I'd rather face the Rockets out of all those teams.
Yeah. I'm right there with you in terms of like upset. I think whenever we did the podcast last night, I have everybody in the West being upset except for us, and we sweep our matchup. I think
I can see that.
Yeah, because I think the Warriors, for all the reasons you said, they've been there before. They're a veteran team. Like they have a team full of not full of, but like they have like very notable playoff risers, like some of the best playoff risers like in NBA history, in terms of like Steph, Jimmy, and Draymond. So like whenever you have those guys together and like they're playing like with that mind meld, they are very tough to beat. And like it felt like the Grizzlies had a chance to snatch momentum, and Steph Curry happened like multiple times last game. And I know a lot of people are hanging their hat on what Amen did to Curry in their last matchup, holding him to 3 points. I would say that, Curry in the regular season is a lot different than Curry in the postseason. And
It's the same with Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler's different in the postseason than he is the regular season.
Yeah. And honestly, I think that you're going to see Amon have to shift to Jimmy Butler because I don't think he's going to be able to keep up with Steph because Steph isn't a normal guy. Like Dort is not even a good matchup for Steph, as good of a defender as he is, because Steph doesn't get his points like dribbling the air out of the basketball. Steph gets his points by running all over the
place. He's going to gas you.
Yeah. So, I have the Warriors winning, and I have the Timberwolves winning, and as we said, I have the Clippers winning. So I'm going all upsets.
Now you brought up Warriors. You don't think Dort's the greatest matchup for them? Let's say the Thunder face the Warriors in the conference finals. Are you running double big? What's your starting five going to look like?
I was against double big going into the season. So I already have like a bias against it. I will say that it looked better, as the season went on. But with how small the Warriors are, I can honestly see it going either way. I like Chet at the 5. I think that the offense just works so much more smoothly, and I think it gives it gives you a counter to the non-Shai minutes by having Ihart on the bench. You like switch up the rotation patterns instead of having to bring Dub off
Ihart and Wiggs out there to sub in for whoever you need.
Yeah, what they were doing is they would sub out Chet early, and then they would bring Ihart out with Chet, and you'd run double big against like bench units. And so you still have the double big, you still get to dictate matchups, but you're doing it, against, like we said, second units, and you still have playmaking on the floor while not having Shai. It was a good counter, kind of having those guys come off the floor or come on the floor when Shai would come off the floor. So I would love, I'm a proponent of Chet at the 5 because as good as the double big lineups have been, it still feels like a lot of the time Chet is a bystander in the offense. I don't know if that's his fault. I don't know if that's, just what happens whenever you have the team that we have. You have to have him on the corner to kind of space the floor. But I think that this team's ceiling is higher when Chet is more involved in the offense and is more utilized in the offense.
I agree with that as well. I think the team is better when Chet is seeing more action on offense. I will say part of that is due to the fact how well offensively a bunch of players are now. Like Blue Dort, for example, he's turned into a phenomenal three-point shooter. The best three-point shooting percentage on the Thunder this season. When that happens, you're going to see him get a little bit more action, get a little bit more, off-ball screens, and, trying to be in a position where his defender has to go help, and he's left open on the perimeter there, where I think it's kind of the same thing Chet Holmgren is going through. He's, in my opinion, one of our better three-point shooters. I trust him taking a three-point shot in late games. That's just the kind of player he is and who he's always been, to where, have him in the corner out on the wing, and Shai or someone's using a screen or driving in to, it's going to draw on their defender now. Let's kick it out to Chet for the wide open 3. So I get where it's coming from. I do think it would be better for the offense to, run smoothly if he's more involved. Maybe some dribble handoffs for him. Maybe Hart sets some screens for him. Imagine that. Chet coming off a pick and roll from Hartenstein, and now you have to guard 2 7-footers on one pick and roll. It's almost unguardable right now because no matter what, there's going to be a little bit of mismatch. You can throw up the Hartenstein lob, or, Chet, he sees his defenders trying to, to hedge the screen, goes underneath, wide open 3 for him. If he follows around trails, he can just drive to the bucket. If there's help, lob right there. There's just so many options there to where I think double big works in that sense right there, but it has to be when Shai's off the court. Is what I'm trying to get out there. It's only going to work if Shai's off the court, because then you need Chet involved in the offense in a double big lineup, or else he's pretty much, stagnant. There's no point to having him out there. Defensively, I don't think anyone can break it. I think it's one of our better defensive lineups, but trying to get back on topic here with the Warriors, I think you have to go small ball. You have Cason Wallace out there, and I think he's the perfect candidate to guard Steph Curry.
Yeah, no, I think that Cason, he had his moment last year where he played really good on Giddey on CJ McCollum on that last shot until he didn't. CJ ended up still getting a good look. But he was a rookie last year, and this year he's been nails. I think I saw a couple people actually pick, nobody with ballots, but I saw a couple people actually pick him for an all-defensive team. I think that he's deserving of an all-defensive team vote, honestly, over Shai. I love Shai, but in terms of not just like steals and blocks, like Cason the steals and blocks and also really sound defensively.
Yes.
So I think that if we had a third representative, I would rather it be Cason, in addition to Dub and Dort. But this is the second year, and it's so crazy, man, because Alex Caruso talks about it all the time. Anytime he gets a chance to talk about Cason Wallace, it's like this guy still doesn't understand the concept of like watching film and putting that into practice. He is guarding guys based off of like his ability and his
He doesn't
skill.
know player tendencies yet.
Yeah, and that could get you in trouble against Steph Curry. I won't lie. But yeah, I agree. Like if there is a player that is like tailor made on this roster to guard Curry, it is Cason Wallace.
Yes, 100%. I love how you mentioned Caruso, talking about him as well. That like one of the most underrated things people don't ever talk about for the Caruso edition is the fact that now you have him kind of there to be a mentor to Cason Wallace, to help him become a better 3-and-D player. That was something that's going to prove invaluable for years if the team decides to keep Cason Wallace for the long run, where that Alex Caruso mentorship just for this season alone as well is going to help his trajectory to winning a potential defensive player of the year in the future. He has that kind of ceiling. And so, but just before, we wrap up, as we have been here for a little bit, just, 2 quick little things here. Go back to the Eastern Conference a little bit. You mentioned it. Do you have a sleeper over there whatsoever in the Eastern Conference? Have you been paying attention?
I love the Pacers, man. I'm a huge Pacers fan. Halliburton's probably my favorite non-Thunder, non-former UK player in the league. I was very high on them before the season. I had them picked to be the 3 seed. And, if they didn't have any injuries and we didn't have Tempur-Pedic Halliburton at the beginning of the year with his back problems, maybe we see them get the 3 seed. But yeah, I think that they're also another team that's really turned it on in 2025 post All-Star break. Halliburton specifically has been playing out of his mind. Miles Turner, Pascal Siakam, they've been playing good, and they're also a team that like has a lot of depth in terms of like Benedict Mathurin, TJ McConnell, Aaron Nesmith. Like they got a lot of guys that you can throw out there to in playoff minutes and like rely on to get a bucket, play defense, get a steal. Like they've got a really good team. They're a fun team, and people like want to write off the Pacers because obviously like the Celtics and the Cavs, they're great. Like obviously they deserve the flowers. The Knicks are great on paper. It remains to be seen like what that's going to look like, but this Pacers team was in the Eastern Conference Finals last year. And like, they're another year older. That was when Pascal Siakam had just like been freshly on the team. Now they have like more time together. The chemistry has grown. They've gone through these bumps. I don't think the Pacers are going to make the Eastern Conference Finals. I think it's a crash course for the Cavs and the Celtics. But I do think that the Pacers would be my sleeper team.
I have a little bit of a bold one. I like the Magic.
Okay.
I really like the Magic. In the past 3 seasons, the Magic are 6-3 against the Celtics.
Yeah, I saw that stat.
And they like clearly shows like, okay, they know how to play against them. They are looking so much better now. They've dealt with so many injuries this year. When the season's like, preseason, they're my sleeper team to potentially make it, a little Cinderella playoff run to make it out of the Eastern Conference. I thought if they stayed healthy, they could finish as a top 3 seed, even potentially a 2 over a Celtics or Cleveland Cavaliers there. Whereas like, okay, they can go on a true deep run here in the playoffs and we could have a Oklahoma City Orlando Magic finals going on. And I'm not saying they have the chance to make the finals now with how well the Cavs have played. It's going to be a tough first round for the Celtics. I think they take them to 7. I think no matter what, that series goes to 7 games. They're going to be scrappy. They're starting to get healthy. I don't know if Jalen Suggs is back at all or not, but Cole Anthony, severely underrated role player over there. Franz Wagner, Paolo Banchero's back, if I remember correctly. It's like I just think they can have a chance to beat the Celtics first round. I think it goes to 7 games. I think it's going to be a really close series. And they could make the second round of the playoffs if they, figure it out and put it all together. It's gonna be their first playoff series together, in a while. But I do think they kind of had the Celtics magic or Celtics number in the past few years now, where okay, they might have the perfect game plan to guard a Tatum and Brown duo over here, shut down a Kristaps Porzingis to, man, they could take 3 games away from him.
Yeah, if Suggs is healthy, which I don't know what his situation is, I don't know if he be back to play it or not. But if Suggs is healthy, it definitely gives him a better chance. But I don't know, man. Like I think that the Celtics have kind of run into the same thing that the Thunder did a little bit, where there wasn't any upward or downward mobility in terms of like where they were going to be. So they took their foot way off the gas down the stretch of the season. But like this team at the peak of its powers, like I can make the argument that aside from Jalen Brown, like the sum of their parts is better this year than it was last year, because
I can agree with that.
Hauser's been more consistent. Pritchard's been more consistent. Horford's been great since he's been healthy. Porzingis has went up another level, feels like. Tatum's gone up another level. I would say that, Drew Holiday's obviously took a little bit of a step back, specifically like offensively, but he's another guy that's a playoff riser. Like, I would not be shocked if like we go into the playoffs and Drew Holiday's just wrecking games once again.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I respect the Celtics too much to say that they're on upset watch, but I could definitely see the Mavericks taking a couple of games from them.
Yeah.
If they're healthy.
Yeah. And like, it's not even like, I don't think Jalen Suggs is going to play, but even then, with how scrappy that team is, how badly they want it, and next year when they are healthy, I am extremely high on the Magic for the next few years because of that little trio that they have of Jalen Suggs, Paolo Banchero, and Franz Wagner. Franz Wagner would have been an all-star if he didn't get injured there, 2 weeks before they were deciding?
Yeah, he was great. And for the record, Blake, I wasn't as high on you or as you were on the Magic. I think I had them at the 6th seed going into the year. I might have even had them at the 5th seed. I can't remember off the top of my head, but that was a team that I had picked to kind of take the next step forward. Yeah. But yeah, they've gone through injury hell, man. And also like
it's horrible.
I thought KCP would kind of fit in a little bit better than he has. I thought that we'd see a little bit more of the Nuggets KCP, and we just haven't. So
yeah, and it's unfortunate, but that's one of the sleepers over there in the Eastern Conference for me. Like you said, it does seem like it's collision course for Cavs and Celtics.
Yeah,
I'm not saying they're completely on upset watch that first round. All I'm saying is do not be surprised if that series goes to 6-7 games. Do not be surprised whatsoever because how scrappy that Magic team is. But just go into a little bit of drafting real quick. Also, give chat room time. If they have questions for us, go ahead and put them in there. But, the Sixers pick, it's teetering. Is it going to go to OKC? Is it going to, stay with Philadelphia? If it goes to OKC, let's say it lands directly at 7. And once again, Dolan has been doing a bunch of statistic stuff that he's been posting lately. And I saw him post the other day how, the Thunder had the same chance to get that 7th overall pick from the Sixers as they did to land Chet in that 2022 draft. And that was at like 35% or so. So there's a realistic shot here. There's a realistic shot, and those picks around 5 through 8 always tend to either rise or fall, especially that 6 to 8 range right there. They tend to rise all the time to where we see that 5th pick drop to 7. If it does, is there any specific player that you've seen like, man, we have to draft him? Or you're like, you know what? I'm fine with the team that we have right now. Instead of drafting someone and have to trade like a Dylan Jones or someone else, let's just trade this pick, replenish later on.
I mean, honestly, like I'm really chill with the team that we have. Obviously, like we're historically great. The guys are going to be better next year. It feels crazy to say we're going to be even better next year than we are this year because this is going to be another year of playing together. Like this core is not going anywhere. It's locked up for the next 2 seasons. And we're bringing in Nikola Topic next year, who was, for a lot of people's money, was the best player in the draft last year. He just fell because of injury. So like he could make you that much scarier. And that's just another roster spot that you're going to have to account for because AJ Mitchell earned his roster spot. He's a man of the roster. He's going to be fighting for minutes as well. Jalen Williams has shown that he deserves a roster spot. Like he is one of the most, I would say for my money, one of the most valuable, if not the most valuable third big in the league of the fact that what he can do on any given night. So like I think that if you want to bring in a high draft pick, in terms of like cost control, like controllable contracts, on rookie scale deals, as this team's going to start getting expensive and, kind of bring in the level competition and, kind of see who rises above the cream of the crop, I'm cool with it. But I'm also cool with like not doing anything. But if you're asking me for a player kind of in that range, I know a lot of people have like kind of gravitated towards the common Maluak out of Duke. He's a big dude, 7'2", 250, and he was good all year. Playing next to Cooper Flagg, kind of had some shaky games in the tournament. I don't really look into that, but I feel like there's another player that kind of fits more the Thunder's play style, and that's Derek Queen out of Maryland.
Yeah, I like
he's
that.
He's not as good of a defender as Maluak. He's you know
How are you?
he's not as good of a defender.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and he's not as big as him, but he has more ball handling capabilities. He can put it on the floor. He can pass it a little bit. He has potential to be a 3-level scorer down the at some point in his career with his shooting touch. And he's a dog, man. Like his attitude, his demeanor, his willingness to win. He hit that game winner in the tournament against Colorado State, which I was devastated about because I had Colorado State picked on upset. I think I had them in my Final Four. I always pick a double-digit team to make my Final Four. So I was thrilled because they just hit that 3 to go up, and then Derek Queen hit that shot at the buzzer. So, he's Derek Queen's kind of my guy. But, again, like I don't think we have to bring somebody in, but Derek Queen would be a really fun person.
I'm pretty much in the same boat, man. Like, do we have to bring anyone in? No, we don't have to whatsoever. There's only 2 guys like that fall where the Thunder can realistically get them would be Sengwe over at Ratio Farm Ohm. I watch a lot of those games over there since like don't know if you can tell by one of my jerseys, Isaiah Roby is one of my favorite Thunder players all time for some reason. I can't describe it. Talked to him a few times and it's like I have to follow him, so I was watching his games over there. So I saw a bunch of Noah, content there. Really like him, projected to go late lottery right now. Can easily, draft someone with whatever pick that you get and then trade back for him. And then, get him right there, do a player swap that night. One of those things, I really like him. And then along with Derek Queen, I think he just fits the Thunder style a little bit better than Common. So, but like I said, you don't have to draft anyone. You have Topic coming in who, at first when the pick happened, I was pissed. Like, I'm gonna be real.
Was too.
I saw the pick. I had his stream watching the draft and everything. I crashed out. I almost ended the stream right there. That's how furious I was because I was like, we traded away our main playmaker and facilitator to go get another playmaker and facilitator.
Yeah,
that was very comparable to each other. Once I let the emotions calm down a little bit, I was like, okay, let's look at the stats. Let's watch some film. I was like, okay, this is actually a good pick right here. If he can come back from this ACL injury, his free throw number shows he can get a shot. All right, all he could do for a little bit was shoot free throws due to his surgery, and shooting with Chip over here in OKC, he's going to be a better shooter. He's going to where it's one of those things. He was one of the few players in that draft that has all-star potential in my mind. And that's mainly because of his athleticism. He's an athletic freak for some reason. And he's explosive, has a quick first step. Is that going to translate now after the surgery? I don't know. Let's hope so for the Thunder's sake. But it's one of those things, because of his size, because of his playmaking ability, if he just becomes a little bit of a better defender, and because of his athleticism, I think he could, fight his way for a starting spot.
Yeah, I mean, he's great at driving the lane, getting to the rim, finishing with both hands. And that was really like the main difference between like the whole Josh Giddey comp, because he's also a phenomenal passer, and that's like where the whole Josh Giddey comp kind of came from it. But you know, we bring in like 10, 15 scouts like every offseason to kind of evaluate the draft, and everybody kind of says the same thing, that the difference between Nikola Topic and Josh Giddey is he is much more of a force getting all the way downhill. Because you see Josh Giddey, I haven't watched as much this year, admittedly, but like in his time with the Thunder, you would see him kind of get to the paint area, like, kind of like the intermediate range, and he would have to force up the floater. That's not the case with Topic. Topic
No.
is getting all the way to the rim, kind of like Shai, honestly. Probably not as good as Shai.
I saw people
but
comparing that
similar
aspect
thing.
of his game to Shai draft night. Like I was seeing a bunch of
Yeah.
draft profiles where like everyone was saying like, man, like when we write his comparison and everything, it's very similar to what they were saying about Shai. I'm not saying he's going to be a Shai where he turns into an MVP candidate by any means, but if you're getting comparisons to someone who is an MVP right now, that's got to mean something. And so, but I do have some questions in here.
Topic, and it'd be great for the branding of Topic Thunder. So
that would be fantastic for you guys. You would have to get him to do a little introduction for you guys. I love him to death. He's just a goofy looking guy. And I love all the memes people have made because of his, like, just how he looks. Because he's just, he's a normal looking guy. He's just a little goofy. Like, like the fact Air Bud's his favorite movie. Like, how can you not love the dude? So we have some stuff here. All right. And this is an interesting one, which I don't know how to feel about it. But what would we have offered to the Mavs if Luka was openly shopped around instead of gifted to the Lakers?
I don't know, man. Like it gets weird with the whole Luka trade scenarios, because with a lot of these teams that are saying like, oh, I wish we had a shot at this, like they have wings as their best players, they have bigs as their best players, and I don't know. It would be, I don't know how well it work like with like Shai and Luka as your two. Like it'd be awesome. Like don't get me wrong, like it would be phenomenal. But you like the Thunder have built this identity on their defense, and like how hard they play. Yeah, I don't. It feels weird to say that we wouldn't even like be like want to be at the table for this conversation, but it kind of feels like that's not the type of player
that's how I feel. That's how I feel for Jokic a little bit as well. Is he a great player? Yes, one of the best in the world. Does he really fit in the OKC system though? I don't think so. Just because he's not athletic and he's he's not a good defender.
Yeah, and it's like that's the same thing with Giannis. Like my co-host Alex Roy, like for years was like, we're trading for Giannis. Like it's gonna happen. Like that's gonna be the haul. And it's like, yeah, Giannis is athletic freak, phenomenal defender. Like he fits in at that point, but like his skill, like I wouldn't say is like what the Thunder are looking for. Like he's skilled.
He's skilled. Would he work in the system? I think so, because how good of a defender and how athletic he is. I think it could easily fit in the system to where if you could try to plug him in what Hartenstein is doing as a starter sometimes, it'd work. Will we lose some playmaking because of it? Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. But it would still work and you would still win the finals with him on there. The main reason I don't want to do it is, are you going to tell one of Giannis or Shai you're no longer the number one option?
Yeah.
Like you can't, it just wouldn't work because of that. And so
I'm telling Giannis he's no longer the number one option.
I'm telling Giannis he's no longer number one option either. I want a dude who can do it all, and Shai can't. He can drive. He can finish through tough contact. He is a mid-range demon. He has that 3-ball now where every single time I see him do that kind of, signature size up and step back, I know it's going in.
It's like a half step back. He's just like,
I know.
Nope.
It's just one of those things where it's like, I just want a little bit of space. I don't need much. Just give me a little bit and I'll make this. And so... got a few more.
He started to turn that into a hezzy here recently.
I know.
Like teams have kind of scouted him on that, and he's like, "All right, I'm just gonna blow by you now."
It's crazy. Matthew had two. We'll start with the first one. What do we try and improve in the off season?
I mean, I don't know that we can answer that until we get into the playoffs to kind of see,
I'm kind of there too. Yeah.
If there is anything, to kind of be improved on, because I mean, at this point, we went to the postseason last year and we saw our weaknesses and we improved on those weaknesses. And, at this point, we got to go into the postseason again and see if we made the right moves. And I'm a firm believer we made the right moves. Josh Giddey has been great for the Bulls, but like he was never going to work in the Thunder system. Alex Caruso is a more complimentary player on offense, and he is a game wrecker defensively. Isaiah Hartenstein fixes your rebound problem. So like the Josh Giddey minutes and the rebounding was really the things that were, and also just the inexperience. Like, Cason Wallace, Chet Holmgren, Jalen Williams, guys like that, they weren't ready for the moment. Like Shai and Dort was ready for the moment. The rest of the team, not really. Now we have another year, a year older. They're more mission minded. It's not a surprise that we're the 1 seed. Like we're ready. Like I think that we've got all the tools, but hey, if not, we'll evaluate, and guess what? We've got the tools to go out there and fix it.
I'm with you on that as well. The only thing I'm really worried about is, the 3-point shooting come playoff time. Do I still think we're going to be fine? Yes, but there are always going to be those concerns for our 3-point shooting, as sometimes it disappeared throughout the season and can't really afford for it to disappear in the postseason either. Is Isaiah Joe going to go on a hot streak? We hope so. Is he going to do what he normally does? Yes. If he doesn't perform in the playoffs, so if we reevaluate, we don't win the finals, it's like Isaiah Joe, he just played below average like he usually does. It might be one of those things. Package him and go get a 3-point shooter. I know Cameron Johnson was talked about the entire season. Go get him. Maybe that's what happens. Like, okay, we didn't win the finals because the 3-point shooting wasn't there. Let's trade the guy that really didn't go, rise up to the expectations during the playoffs. Trade him and go get someone that we believe can. This is what we did with Josh a little bit, to go get a better defender. Like, clearly he wasn't a good defender. One of the main reasons we ended up losing against Dallas because he was a hole there defensively. And so
and I'll also say, my bad. And I'll also just add to that. I think these last 3 or 4 games were so huge for guys like Isaiah Joe and Aaron Wiggins and their confidence and their rhythm going into the playoffs. Because obviously Wiggins, he had kind of gone through some injuries. Mm-hmm. Isaiah Joe had been up and down with the shooting, but those last 3 or 4 games where they just go find a rhythm, just go gain your confidence. And, they both put up 30 pieces, and they had some other impressive shooting performances after that. I'm very confident in their play, not even just as shooters, but also as playmakers. It kind of put them in different situations to go out there and kind of be the lead playmakers, Isaiah Joe and Aaron Wiggins. So, I'm just excited for it to start, man.
Yeah, I am too. I think the team's perfect how it is. I don't think there's really going to be anything that we have to trade and do in the offseason unless it's clear man, we really struggled right here. Someone really didn't perform here, and this is why we lost. Then I get it. Other than that, though, if you just got beat because the other team, was a better team, they had a good game plan against you, so what? You can come back, repair, and do it next year. So this is our second year out of a rebuild, if you think about it. And we're, in finals contention. That's impressive right there. He also asked, should the Thunder try and bring Trey Mann back? I know we love Trey Mann, but would he actually have a spot on this team, in your opinion?
Not as currently constructed. I would say that it would take sacrificing Aaron Wiggins or Isaiah Joe off the team for Trey Mann to have a spot on this team. And honestly, when Topic is healthy and AJ Mitchell is healthy next year, I still don't know. Trey also had he's missed the entire season because of a back injury, and we don't know that he's going to come back and be the same player next year either. So, for vibes, I would have loved Trey.
It'd be great.
On the in the locker room, on the bench, it would have been great. But hey, who knows, man?
Yeah, who knows? I agree with you pretty much there. Final 2 here by Mikiel, I believe is how it's pronounced. I'm not completely sure. I hope I didn't butcher it. If I did, sorry about that. Just tell me how it's pronounced. He has 2 players. The Thunder, he wants to try to go get one of them. All right. At least try to get one. Santi Aldama, cheap guy, good role player. I don't mind the fit. Only problem I have with that is, who are you willing to give up to go get him?
I like the player too. I think that he could fit in the system, but when it comes to, I don't know that he's giving you much more than what Kenrich Williams is giving you. So at that point, it's just making a trade to make a trade.
Yeah. No, pretty much all I see when people bring up the trades is just make a trade for, because, it's, chaos. It's drama. That's what it is right there. And that's why a lot of people want it, is because it's going to be new. It's going to be fun. And in reality, it could ruin the team. This one right here, you never know with this one, but he also said, go get Bam Adebayo.
Hey, I love Bam. I love the Kentucky guys. But I mean, what do you if
exactly.
you're
what are you gonna give up?
If it's like a Bam I heart swap, I mean, again, that's not. I think Bam he's a better defender, 100%. So I do think that it might raise your ceiling, but again, you're throwing in another player that hasn't played with these guys, and you're asking them to build chemistry and get ready to win a title. Isaiah Hartenstein's here. obviously, like it's looked great this year.
Mm-hmm.
It's just going to look better as the team goes on because they're going to have more minutes, more time playing together, and the chemistry is just going to grow. So, again, like I love Bam. Like I would be thrilled if he was on the team, but it also kind of feels like a trade just to make a trade.
Yeah, that's like all the trades I see. It feels like just make a trade because we want something fun. We want something exciting, new. The reason for the Cameron Johnson trade that a lot of people wanted, and I wanted it a little bit as well, was because Joe and Wiggs were playing a little bit below average there for a little bit. Seems Wiggs was going through an injury. He wasn't going to play as good as he once was. He had that trip back home, and he went ballistic ever since then. Isaiah Joe, he wasn't as good of a shooter as he was last season, was struggling quite a bit. There was one game he really started turning on afterwards, so it was kind of like, okay, proved us wrong, don't need to make a trade now. If one of them kept playing like that, let's say Isaiah Joe didn't pick up his shooting again, do we make that Cameron Johnson trade? Potentially. I could see a world for that. Mm-hmm. Meeting with Presti one day at my school because he took a random trip here for some reason. I talked to him. I was like, why'd you construct this team? He's like, because this is the best team I think I've ever built. So I was like, I'm fine with keeping this team then if you have this much confidence. If the man has that much confidence, go ahead. That's fine by me. Keep the team.
That's a great draft, or that's a great nugget to have there from the man himself. So
I know, and like when it happened, it was he was coming back for Thanksgiving because he's from Cambridge and he went to the same school I go to. So he was coming back to visit his family, and he took a trip to watch our school's basketball team play one day. And I randomly saw him in there. I was like, that's not who I think it is. I was wearing my Mark Daigneault shirt. And he was like, that's not who I think it is. I walked by him and he says, that's an amazing shirt you have on. Like, it was awesome. One of those, like Star Trek moments. I was like, you're Sam Presti. He was like, indeed I am. And so we got to talking, and I asked him, I was like, just truly tell me, like, this team constructed, how do you feel? And he told me this is the best team that he thinks he'll ever put together. So if he has that much confidence in him and himself and this team that he put together, I have confidence in this team to win a championship this year. That's why.
That's a bar. Drop the mic. I like it.
But that's all we really got time here. I've held you here for just over an hour now. That's quite a bit. You have a family. All right. I have finals to do. So might as well get this over with here. Before I sign off and everything, always do this little, just kind of, mental health awareness. If you guys are ever struggling with anything, I'm always here to talk. Reach out to me in the Discord. You can reach out to me on social media. All right, I'm always happy to talk to you guys. Just know you're never alone. All right, there's always someone here for you. All right, always reach out to me. You guys are family to me here. Love, appreciate each and every single one of you guys. That's all I got. Dylan, ThunderChats, thank you once again for doing this. This was exciting. This was amazing. All right, it's fantastic.
Absolutely, man. It was a blast last time. It was a blast this time. Anytime I get a chance to talk some Thunder basketball, I'm down. As my wife was cackling over TikTok in the background, so I apologize for that at the end of the pod.
It's all good. Like I said, you got a family to get to.
Yeah, I just wanted to give a shout out to my boy Tower Hero, just absolutely putting on a clinic right now.
Is he really?
In the playing game, 25 points on 9 of 11 shooting. He made his first 8 shots.
Now, are you using the real app or ESPN?
Real, of course. Let's be
good.
real here.
Good. All right. But that's all we got.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for tuning in. All of you guys here. Appreciate all the comments. Appreciate you guys always coming in here. Dylan, once again, appreciate you coming on. And Thunder up. Let's, like someone said earlier, let's sweep everyone in the playoffs this year.
Yeah, Thunder up, man. Let's on a ring.